In investing, we are taught one simple rule. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. That's exactly why people invest in off-plan. You are willing to take a high amount of risk with the expectation of gaining high returns. But here's the problem with today's market. That relationship is starting to break. Some off-plan projects today come with higher risk because obviously they are off-plan. But when you closely look at, the returns are moderate. Not particularly because they are bad projects, but because of the supply, the pricing compared to the location that project is located is not that suitable as an optimal investment given today's pricing and today's market conditions. At the same time, there are a few rare projects out there where the risk is comparatively lesser when you compare with certain other off-plan projects, and however, the potential upside is actually higher because you are buying it at a justifiable price, and in the same time, by the time of handover, the demand can absorb supply much more efficiently. In today's video, I want to compare two products in the same investment range. One that is heavily marketed in the market, yet it carries a higher risk with capped rewards, versus the other one carries a much lesser risk with a much stronger upside, and yet it's not well marketed as the initial project. Now, before we go further, I want to clarify one thing. At first glance, this may seem an unfair comparison because I'm comparing 4 and 5 bedroom townhouses in DAMAC Islands 2 versus 3 bedroom apartments in Expo Valley Views, which is an apartment complex. From a lifestyle perspective, they could be different, but this video is not about lifestyle. It's about capital allocation. For an investor deploying around 3 to 3.5 million as an investment today, the real question is, where does my capital face lesser risk and where does it have more room to grow? And at this budget rate, there is one project that is spoken about a lot in today's market, and that's obviously the DAMAC Islands project. It is everywhere, it's very attractive, and it's heavily marketed. It promises a resort-style, waterfront townhouse lifestyle at a price point that looks pretty attractive for a townhouse. So we are putting that option under the microscope against Expo Valley Views, which is also by a strong government developer directly backed by the government, yet it's not marketed as much as DAMAC Island is. It's a much quieter project, very less hyped, but operates under a completely different risk profile. So let's evaluate both these projects in the same investment lens. Before entering into the video, this one quick request from me. If you haven't already subscribed, please do consider subscribing to my channel. That would help me reach more and more interested investors just like you that would benefit from this content. So in this video, we are going to analyze these two investment options under 4 different lenses, under, you could say, 4 different risk categories. First one is going to be the entry risk, meaning how many unknown uncertainties are you accepting as you enter into the investment opportunity at a particular price point. And the second risk aspect is going to be supply pressure. How much of competition that you are having for this particular unit. If you are investing in 1 unit or 2 or 3 units, how many similar units are you competing against, and what does it mean to you as an investor? The third category is going to be income risk, the certainty of income. What is the certainty of you attaining a certain amount of income on handover, after handover, and what's the certainty of it being retained for a long time and it growing at a steady pace, and the factors that would affect this. And the final risk aspect is going to be growth, basically capital appreciation. How much upside your investment opportunity potentially has, what aspects, what factors would affect this the limitation of this growth, or rather on the other side, what factors would help this investment opportunity grow at a higher pace, right? So we are going to analyze these 4 investment opportunities under these 4 risk categories. Now let's move into the first category, entry risk. So entry risk, in a nutshell, how many unknowns are accepted at purchase. This is basically what it means. We can break it down and we can understand that. First is going to be the complexity of the project and the risk of proper execution. When you say the project, the concept, how likely is it that it's going to be executed as it is promised in brochures? This is basically what this risk is all about, right? Uh, is there a proven track record of a similar concept that is already available in the market? And if so, how is it performing? Now, for example, when we say DAMAC Islands, which promises a waterfront living resort style lifestyle community, the only option that we have, which was very recently handed over in a close proximity to DAMAC Islands, is going to be DAMAC Lagoons. The first phase of DAMAC Lagoons was recently handed over. So how is it performing? Versus Expo Valley Views, it is also promising a sustainable green living. So how much capable is Expo City as a developer to deliver on that promise? What have they delivered in Expo City or any other location for that matter? And how capable are they to deliver on their promise that they have promised in their brochures, right? Then the strength of the developer. Last, reliance on future value creation versus existing surrounding. How much the project is reliant on future value creation, demand anchors inside the community and the surrounding. So this is basically what entry risk is all about. Now let's discuss a bit in detail about these aspects by going into the master plans. If you look at, this is DAMAC Islands, right? This is DAMAC Islands 1, this is E611, Emirates Road, versus this is DAMAC Islands 2, this is DAMAC Islands 1 next to it, right? And there is talks that there is going to be a DAMAC Islands 3, which is not yet confirmed, but could be. Now, what's promised versus what's delivered? DAMAC Islands promises a lagoon waterfront lifestyle living. Let me show you some renders that I took from the brochure. So this is the kind of lifestyle that DAMAC Islands promises. Lagoons, waterfront, heavy water bodies, and amenities around that. This is another render. So this is the kind of lifestyle that DAMAC Islands promise, right? And there's so many ample water-related waterfront amenities that's promised in DAMAC Islands. And if you go to Expo Valley Views, this is the Expo City master plan. Expo Valley Views is sitting right here in the Expo Valley section of Expo City, and it is promising a green, sustainable, green living lifestyle, right? That is what Expo City is promising, Expo Valley Views is promising. Now comparing these two, which has a higher risk in terms of what's promised versus what you can expect, what will be delivered, and which has a lesser risk, right? Now if you look at the first project, DAMAC Islands, island living or water bodies, to build and successfully maintain water bodies is not an easy task. Even DAMAC themselves, if you look at DAMAC Hills 2, there are some water bodies, which has its pros and cons, right? And if you look at DAMAC Lagoons, which is the closest to DAMAC Islands in terms of concept, which was a very recent delivery, the success of DAMAC Lagoons is also yet to be seen. With the current renters that the DAMAC Lagoons 4 beds have been rented and 5 beds have been rented, you really cannot get an idea, because the rentals are also of units, which we'll discuss in the income section, are below average. That's because it's very new. So the success of it is yet to be seen. How it is going to evolve over the next few years and how successful that project is going to be is something yet to be seen. It's not proven as of now, right? So when we compare these two projects, I think Expo City, this section is already built, right? And there's a lot of different concepts, sustainability, because generally if you even go to this section, which is already built, which was built for the purpose of Expo 2020, the temperature outside around 5% lesser than the temperature outside Dubai. So that they have incorporated the elements of sustainability and relevant technology already into the existing buildings, into the existing infrastructure, right? And this project, they have already proven and done the impossible. They built this whole infrastructure in just 5 years, and it was a massive success. And we saw that, right? And they are the same developers that are building this community, Expo Valley Views, this cluster, Expo Valley Views, the Expo Valley townhouses, and already people have seen success in Expo Valley townhouses, resales, forest living, which they are very much capable of, and they have already proven in this very master plan itself. So when you understand in both projects what's proven versus what will be delivered, I think the risk with Expo Valley Views is much lesser compared to DAMAC Island. So I think we covered this already proven track record of similar concept. How certain are we that the promise will be delivered as it is? Is DAMAC Islands a success? Strength of the developer. Obviously, let me cover a bit about this. He's a developer with a strong government backing, but it's a private developer. It's a strong developer. They are very cash rich, among the top 3 developers in terms of volume. Expo City is a boutique developer. It's not it's not competing in volume with any developer. It has only one project inside Expo City, only one location rather. Inside Expo City, they have around few projects, and few more projects will come up. However, in terms of the strength of the developer, Expo City is the government itself, right? It's none other than the government. Let me show you a picture. This is Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid and Sheikh Hamdan inside Expo City, approving the renewed Expo City master plan. So it's under the direct purview of the government that this project is happening. So Expo City as a project, as a location, is strongly backed by the government, because it is the government's brainchild. It is going to be the future downtown of Dubai, and they are putting so much personal attention and care into that location. So of course they will put so much care into the projects in that location as well, right? That's about the strength of the developer. Now last, if we talk about the reliance on future value creation versus existing surroundings, this is inside as well as around the community where it's located. So let's go to the Google Maps and understand a few details when it comes to this aspect. So this is where Expo City is, right? So Expo Valley Views is on this corner of Expo City, and this is where DAMAC Islands 1 and 2 are, right? Now if you talk about Expo City, so this is the whole Dubai South ecosystem, right? There's a lot of things happening inside. The main thing is Expo City itself. That is going to be the future downtown. There's so many Fortune 500 companies already set up headquarters, including DP World, Siemens Energy, Nestle, which is ranked among global 67, Fuji, Bank, Live Nation, IIFT, and so many other companies moving in, right? And most importantly, Dubai Exhibition Center, the World Trade Center, is entirely moving into Expo City, right? So that's a very big thing for Expo City and the whole Dubai South ecosystem. People sell apartments. I remember people were selling apartments in Riverside, stating this fact about Expo City. So Expo City is a main demand anchor, demand hub of this whole location. Then you get the Al Maktoum Airport right next to it, the world's largest airport. You have the Jebel Ali port here. You have the Jebel Ali industrial area. You have all the Dubai South ecosystem, the Dubai South, like all these demand anchors that a lot of agents talk about when it comes to Dubai South. Everything is in very close proximity to Expo City. When you look at DAMAC Islands, it is also, people talk about the Al Maktoum Airport, the Expo City, when they sell DAMAC Islands as well, right? It's a little far compared to Expo City. In terms of a location, if you look at the other townhouse communities that are located, could be Arabian Ranches 2, could be DAMAC Hills, Town Square, Villanova, the Villa, all these communities that are located in this land patch. They are predominantly residential. People are not living there because of the proximity to anything. People are living there because they want to just live a bit far away from the city, yet in a location that feels like a separate city in itself, right? That is why people live in those communities, and that's why those communities are actually very successful when it comes to end users and investors as well, right? From what has been succeeded so far in this location, when the developer delivers a community with a family-friendly environment to live, that's a success. That has been a success, right? So that's about this location versus Expo Valley Views. The next risk aspect that we are going to compare is supply pressure. When it comes to supply pressure, the main thing, volume of compatible units entering the market, along with the investment that you are buying into, right? The other aspect is going to be how spread out are the launches and are they aligned well with the demand creation? Is everything being handed over at one time, or is it being handed over step by step as and when the demand gets created, so that your investment from a ROI perspective, from a rental perspective, and even from a capital gains perspective, in case if you want to resell, would not get affected? Is that happening or not? And third, degree of similar unit layouts, repetition. how many similar unit layouts are available in the master plan and what does it mean to you as an investor, right? This is what we are going to discuss in this session. First of all, volume of compatible units entering the market. So this is DAMAC Islands 1, which has around 2,500 units or more than that. DAMAC Islands 2, again same story, around 2,000 to 2,500 units. Then you get DAMAC Islands 3, which is also anticipated. If that's not anticipated, then the total unit count is 5,000. If another DAMAC Islands 3 is coming, then the total unit count is going to be 7,000, 7,500 plus. And what's the difference between DAMAC Islands, living in DAMAC Islands versus living in Arabian Ranches 2 or living in DAMAC Lagoons, which are all in close proximity? Well, DAMAC Islands promises a resort-style lifestyle, or rather a waterfront lifestyle. This is something that's going to be a game changer when it comes to rental. Looking at how things are going right now, it's not too sure. That doesn't seem to be the case, but we are yet to see. If that's not the case, then a townhouse unit in DAMAC Islands is not competing only with the rest of the townhouses inside the community, but it's also competing with units in surrounding neighboring communities as well. If we go to Expo City, if you look at, this is where the 8 towers are going to be. The tallest is going to be 13 floors and the lowest is going to be 4 floors, 8 towers in between. The total number of units in all these 8 towers is going to be 880 units, right? If you talk about the townhouses, this matters because it's not about Expo Valley Views apartments versus Expo Valley townhouses, but you know, the kind of demand profile in these townhouses would affect positively or negatively these apartments as well, right? So the townhouses also, if you look at, is around 550 townhouses in total in this master plan, right? 881 units here. The total number of units that's being launched in this whole master plan by Expo City developers, including all these projects, Al-Waha, Sky, Mangrove, Sidr, is close to 2,500 units. Different layouts, different concepts. Al-Waha is a whole different concept. Likewise, it's not unique, it's not identical, it's not similar concepts, right? So if we look at the supply, it's well spread out, 2,500 units total as of now, and there are a few launches expected over the upcoming years as well. Just from a supply point of view, when you compare Expo City versus DAMAC Islands, Expo City supplies lesser than DAMAC Islands, right? And also now in today's comparison, we are comparing a 3-bedroom because it's a similar investment size that we are talking about. It's much lesser, right? And it's much more exclusive. Expo City is much more exclusive because the demand profile that also we'll be talking about it's already defined, right? This we'll be talking in detail about in the next income section. But for now, the demand is already defined for these 3-bedroom apartments in Expo City, right? So similar compatible units, if we look at DAMAC Islands, we have just one layout for 4-bedroom and just one layout for 5-bedroom, and this same layout, it's going to be either middle unit or corner unit. If it's a corner unit, you get some extra space in the corner. If not, you don't get that extra space. But the internal layout is going to be very similar, right? So if you're investing in a 4-bedroom or a 5-bedroom townhouse in DAMAC Islands, how many other similar identical layouts are you competing against? At least 2,000 other similar identical layouts you are competing against, right? So these are the layouts. This is a 4-bedroom middle unit. This is a 5-bedroom. If you just zoom in and just analyze one layout, it's a bit special. Yes, the 5-bedroom is a very nice layout when we analyze just one layout. But zoom out and see how many other similar layouts you are competing against. It's at least 2,000 other similar identical layouts you are competing against. Versus if you go to a 3 in Expo Valley Views, this is a 3-bedroom of Terra Gardens, which is also in Expo City, right outside the Expo City area. Even when you compare this 3-bedroom with Terra Gardens, still this layout is very unique. You have a maid's room with an attached washroom. I have done a separate comparison video comparing Expo Valley Views with Terra Gardens, my previous video. But for the purpose of this video, just wanted to show you this. Like, even with a project that is located inside the Expo City, still this layout is very unique, very spacious. This is a very end user friendly layout. which of course if interested we can discuss in detail on a call, but for the purpose of this video I'm keeping it very short, right? So this layout is very unique. There's only 26 3 bedrooms in building 1. Like out of all these 880, there is only going to be around 150 3-bedroom units, right? So that's very limited, and the kind of people that want to live in this 3-bedroom, we will talk about it in the next upcoming sections. That's going to be much higher than the available supply, right? So in terms of the volume of compatible units entering the market, degree of similar unit layout repetition, DAMAC Islands is higher than Expo Valley Views. It's much exclusive and much less. So how spread out are the launches and are they aligned well with the demand creation? This aspect, if we talk about DAMAC Islands 1, which is around 2,500 townhouses, almost completely sold out. Meaning all these units will be handed over almost in the same, within a 3-4 month window. All these townhouses will be handed over. DAMAC Islands 2 is now launching. This also they are heavily marketing it. So as and when the island clusters sell out, they will launch the next cluster. That's the plan. That is how it goes, right? Meaning close to handover, it's not that spread out. All these handovers are going to happen at once. Huge chunk of these handovers are going to happen at once, right? So it might take some time for the demand creation to happen. We actually saw this in DAMAC Lagoons as well. Okay. Versus Expo Valley Views. Now they launched building 1. And even if they launch all these 8 buildings of Expo Valley Views, even if they launch all these 8 buildings at once, still it's going to be okay, right? Probably the handover of all these 8 buildings will be happening at once only, 880 units, right? Still it's going to be okay. The Expo Valley Views is going to be handed over in 2029, right? And if you look at the other projects in Expo City, there are 2 or 3 projects that are to be handed over this year. Another 2 projects that are to be handed over next year. Another 2 or 3. And there are a few launches that you can expect in 2028. And then you have Expo Valley Views in 2029. So the launches are well spread out, in line or even lesser than the demand. Demand is going to be, which we talk about in detail at the capital gains. So that's about the comparison, supply pressure comparison. Now let's move on to the next section. Now when we talk about income visibility risk, there are a few things that we need to discuss. Certainty of lease demand versus scenario-based rent assumptions, meaning your end users or rather tenants for this particular investment opportunity, are they already defined, or is it based on factors that are yet to happen in future? Are they assumptions or are they already defined? And how confident are you to attain a certain pricing when you lease out right after handover? This is basically linked to the first point. Then the occupancy stability based on tenant profiles, right? Is it families, professionals, short term? If so, then how likely is it going to be for short term? Is it going to be long term tenants? How strong is your tenant profile? Then another aspect is going to be the seasonality versus year-round tenancy potential, basically short-term potential versus long-term versus both, how likely. And then the rental analysis, like practically what's happening in the market, what are the comparables that you could look at and what you can practically expect, right? If you look at the first point, certainty versus scenario-based assumptions, if you go to DAMAC Islands, this is where DAMAC Islands is and this is where Expo City is, right? So in terms of like who is going to live, who is going to reside in DAMAC Islands first, there's no particular defined audience as of now. The project is being pitched as a luxury waterfront lifestyle destination, but who is actually going to live? Is it going to be the tourists? Is it going to be for short-term renters? Or is it going to be for long-term tenants? Are they going to live in DAMAC Islands? How many of these people will be waiting until this project is ready to go and hand over? Or is that ever going to happen in DAMAC Islands? Now, we need to understand this with what's currently going on. The closest example, although it's not 100% identical, is DAMAC Lagoons, as we discussed a while ago. If we look at the rentals there, This data is from the Dubai Land Department. I'm accessing it through Bayut, the Dubai Transactions section. So this data is directly inferred from Dubai Land Department. If you look at the rentals, average, you could see these are the recent rentals. The Santorini is the only cluster that's being handed over and where people are living. 170, 180,000, 200. So you could say, you could fairly assume around 175 to 80,000 as an average rental, right? If you look at other communities around, this is Arabella, Mudon, Arabella 3, 200,000, 205, 195, 210. There's like 1 or 2, 160,000, 162,000 as well. However, the average is like 200,000 plus, 200, you could say around 200,000. When you go to Town Square, again, it's kind of in par with DAMAC Islands too. When you go to Arabian Ranches too, you could understand that the 4 beds are, when you look at snapshot, the Arabian Ranches too is higher than any of these, 200,000, 220, 230,000 plus, right? Now, if you understand these 4, DAMAC Lagoons is a waterfront community, right? It is their first waterfront community, that like a proper waterfront community by DAMAC that they launched. Arabella is not a waterfront, but it is a good, decent, family-friendly community to live in. Town Square is also good, but not in the scale of Mudon or Arabian Ranches too. It's a bit of a low tier compared to these 2 projects, right? Hence, the rental is justifiable. Arabian Ranches 2 is also by Imar, and the community is very beautiful, a family-friendly, green community. No special themes, like no water themes, nothing like that. It's just a green community, but the livability, the likability for this is very high. That's what these rentals say. So when we look at these numbers, like around 180, 200,000, this is not the final view. I mean, perhaps this number could go high a bit, right? But how high is that going to be? DAMAC Lagoons waterfront. And then DAMAC Islands, once it's handed over, what is the rentals that you could expect? Is it going to be significantly high, or this is the trend that I want to highlight. We can understand the patterns when we compare these existing townhouses, right? Is there a special likelihood for a lagoon waterfront living, or is it just considered, is it viewed as just another community where people can live? And if it is considered as just another community where people can live, then would people be waiting until the property is handed over to go for rental, or once it's handed over, it's just like any other community, the rental will gradually pick up and people will gradually move? Is that what's going to happen, right? That's something that you need to analyze when you make the investment. Now, here also, when you look at the number of transactions recorded for 4 bedrooms, here it's around 14 transactions. I'm sure there's more than this, but it takes some time for a transaction to happen and to get it recorded and reflected in the system. But still, comparing the number of units that were handed over versus the number of transactions recorded, it's very less, right? So that's also something that you need to think about. Now, if you go to Expo Valley Views, let's understand that. So this is Expo City, right? You get the apartments here. I have spoken a bit in detail about the audience for Expo Valley Views, and I have done an analysis in my previous video where I did a comparison between Expo Valley Views versus Terra Gardens, right? Now, if you look at Expo City is one of the main demand anchors of Dubai South. And as a matter of fact, as I said, DAMAC Islands, when people say DAMAC Islands, they point out the proximity to Expo City as one of the key selling points, right? So this is that Expo City. Expo City is the future downtown of Dubai. The government has invested 57 billion dirhams in the infrastructure of only Expo City so far, and more investment is flowing into Expo City. Another main thing is this Dubai Exhibition Center. If you have done an analysis, if you have ever been to Dubai, you know how much of a big deal World Trade Center is for Dubai, right? And during seasons, during main events, like even average 3-star hotels rent out at like 7,000-8,000 dirhams per night. Very average 3-star hotels rent out at that rate, right? So that is the kind of demand that the World Trade Center attracts to Dubai, and that whole World Trade Center, as part of the strategic vision of Dubai, is moving into Expo City in order to manage the demand, manage the traffic flow, and in order to be aligned in line with the expansion plans of the city that's happening. So that's the main thing. There's going to be an anticipated event count of 600 mega events per year. Currently, there's 300 mega events already happening. So all these 300 are definitely going to happen, plus another 300 mega events per year, right? That's what's going to happen here, and that has a higher degree of certainty of happening. Definitely, it's going to happen because government is inventing so much, right? And a lot of Fortune 500 companies have already moved in here. Okay, so there's real demand already there available inside the community, and it's picking up right now. There's like 4 to 5,000 workers working here, and that number is going to go up to 40,000 workers working in Expo City, right? And most of these workers, like top tier workers, of course, would be willing to live inside Expo City because Expo City is going to be a very prestigious address, right? And when it comes to living in Expo City, these projects that are in this core district where all these events are happening, be it Sky, Sidir, Mangrove, Albaha, mostly it's going to be for short-term rental, right? So when you look at a viable long-term rental option for people, for top-tier executives working in Expo City, because they work in Expo City in the middle of the hustle and bustle, and they will not want to live in the middle of the hustle and bustle. They will want to live in a calm and quiet place, but they will want to say that they live in Expo City. They will want that address, right? You have two options. You have Expo Valley right now, which is townhouses and villas, which is expensive, right? Of course, there is going to be demand for that as well. And the other only available option as of now is going to be Expo Valley Views, which is more cost effective compared to townhouses. Yet you get the Expo City address, you get spacious layouts, and you get a very exclusive views and very exclusive location, basically with very high connectivity throughout the community, right? I'll just briefly walk you through the connectivity map as well. So this is the connectivity map. There is going to be a sustainable green transportation loop all across Expo City, and this is the Expo Valley Views project. And if you could understand this purple line, this is going to be a transport loop that connects this location with all the other locations directly to the Dubai Exhibition Center and right throughout the community, right? So once this is up and running, it's going to be even more convenient, and hence if you compare Expo Valley Views versus DAMAC Islands, the demand is much more defined in Expo Valley Views compared to DAMAC Islands, right? Now, one quick thing that I mentioned here, in DAMAC Islands, I said there's no much of a extra uniqueness for people to come and live in there, then that stock is going to compete with all the neighboring communities as well. Why did I not say the same to Expo Valley Views as well? 3-bedroom apartments, and there's so many other 3-bedroom apartments that are launching. There's Windsor House by Ellington, and there's so many other launches also that might come up in Dubai South Residential District, right? Why did I not talk about that? Well, Expo City, no matter how many launches are going to happen outside of Expo City, there's always going to be a demand and uniqueness for the address of Expo City, right? There's a difference between an apartment here and an apartment here, right? On this side of the fence and on this side of the fence, there's going to be a significant difference. This address matters. This address belongs to Expo City. So the address of Expo City means something, right? Hence, we need to isolate Expo City and look at it as a separate investment. You cannot, put a 3-bedroom of Expo City or a 2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom of Expo City along with other stock that are available in Dubai South, right? That's one thing that we need to keep in mind. So yes, we spoke about this price confidence when leasing right after handover. That's that again, it's linked to this. If the demand is already defined and if people will be waiting to own an apartment then or a townhouse, then that's where the confidence is very high. Occupancy stability based on tenant profile. Now here again, we discussed this already. I'm sure you would have got an idea of this. Families, if you look at DAMAC Islands surrounding townhouse communities, there's families living, people working in downtown and various locations, even in Dubai South, living there because it's more affordable compared to somewhere with very much close proximity to downtown or something. This location is kind of more affordable. So families living there who would like a family friendly environment, but they work in Dubai. So that is the kind of people living there, and that's not the kind of people that move every year, right? They live for some time. So in terms of a tenant's profile, I think even DAMAC Islands, once the demand picks up, which will take some time, that's going to be pretty stable. And when you look at Expo Valley Views, I already discussed the kind of people who will want to live there, and they will want to live for a long time, and they will actually want to own the apartment, not only rent, right? That we'll talk about during the capital growth section as well. Seasonality versus year-round tenancy. I think obviously Expo City is going to have more short-term rental potential as well, in addition to long-term rental. Now, if you look at the rental analysis, I think I already walked you to the DAMAC Islands scenario by showing DAMAC Lagoons rentals and various other communities. So DAMAC Lagoons is renting at around 180 right now, Santorini, and other communities, Arabian ranches is around 250 for a 4-bedroom. Mudon around again 200,000, 210,000 for a 4-bedroom. So for DAMAC Islands, I think you are going to expect somewhere around that, and if the overall market goes up, in parallel to that, some figure around that, that's what you are going to expect. Now, if you look at Expo Valley Views, there's one thing I need to explain before showing the rentals. Expo Valley View, there's no actual rental that you could match, that you could practically understand is happening around Dubai South, because that area is still picking up, right? But I'm going to show you something which at the very outset might not seem like a comparison. I'm going to show you the rentals of City Walk and some rentals of even Dubai Hills Estate. Well, why am I showing already established communities like City Walk? What is the similarity between City Walk and Expo City? First of all, let's understand some numbers, and along with the numbers, and I will explain why I am showing City Walk. So these are some 3-bedroom current rentals of City Walk. 450,000, 288, 340, 365, 400, 346, 286, 300,000 plus, right? It's some units are at like 400,000 plus as well. So average 300, 320, 330,000 is something that you could practically expect for a 3-bed at City Walk, right? Again, now why am I showing City Walk? How does it make sense? Well, this shows how much people are willing to pay for this lifestyle. If you look at City Walk, it's a lifestyle destination. There's retail, the quality, the finishes, the exclusivity, the luxury aspect of the apartment, and of the address, basically of that address, the proximity to the current downtown, to the current airport, to Port Rashid, if you could add a port as well, right? And the proximity to the main present hub of business in Dubai, City Walk, right? And it's a very successful investment case. And this is how much people are willing to pay for that address, right? Expo City is turning out to be something similar to this. 4 years is more than enough of a time for Expo City to achieve this, right? Just to understand how much you could initially rent, let's understand City Walk itself again. Back in 2016, 2017, this was the rentals: 230, 270, 250, around 250, 260,000, and right now it's going at 350, 400,000, right? Let's understand Dubai Hills as well. Well, these are some 3-bedroom rentals for Dubai Hills Dubai Hills, 280k, what is 295,000, 283, 360,000. Ellington House, which is a very interesting case. We'll understand Ellington House separately. 210, 350,000, 290. So you could understand, right? If you go to Ellington House, which is located in Dubai Hills, it's even higher, 350,000 plus. That's because Ellington House, the layouts are unique, the project is spacious compared to MR, right? This similar thing is something similar to this is what we are going to expect in Expo Valley View. Something similar to Ellington House in terms of finishes, in terms of the layout, right? It's going to be even better than MR. I have explained this scenario in my previous video where I compared Terra Gardens versus Expo Valley Views, right? So you can expect around 200 and, let's say on a very conservative side, around 275 to 300,000 of a rental on a 3-bedroom apartment, compared to a 4-bedroom townhouse where you are going to expect around 220, 230,000, right? Even if you minus the service charge, which is going to be, of course, higher in an apartment, still the net rental on Expo Valley Views is going to be higher than a townhouse in DAMAC Islands, right? That is because of the exclusivity and because of all these things that we discussed. That's something that I wanted to highlight to you. So now let's understand the final aspect, the capital growth potential. There are a few things here. The future needs lagoon front living or sustainable green living. Where is Dubai moving? What is the tenant preference? What is the future tenant preference? That's something that we need to understand. Which one is more aligned with the government vision? How attractive is it going to be for end users? Which one is more attractive for end users? DAMAC Islands or Expo Valley Views? Which project will people prefer to live in? Same point basically. This is from a tenant point of view. This is from a tenant point of view. This is from a end user point of view. How exclusive the location community project is. Pricing control and bargaining strength at each stage of resale. Right. Now, if you understand this, as per the first point, tourism was a main thing in Dubai. Yes, right. But right now, Dubai, if you look at the agenda, the D33 agenda, the Vision 2040 plans, they are planning to double the population, and the population that they're expecting is of a high caliber. They're expecting to retain talent, wealthy migrants, business owners, businessmen, and they are focusing more in sustainability, sustainable living, green living, wellness. This is what the government is focusing. And if any project aligns with this future, there's a higher chance of success, right? So while DAMAC Islands is catering to the existing or the past demand drivers of tourism, Expo Valley Views is catering to the future, sustainability and green living, right? That's what Expo City is all about. So which one is more aligned with government vision? That's something that you need to think about before making an investment. How attractive is it going to be for end users? Or if you look at townhouses in general, DAMAC Islands, to that matter even DAMAC Hills 2, DAMAC Hills, these layouts compared to other townhouse layouts like projects by EMAR, project by Dubai Properties, projects by Nakil, the likability of end users for someone to live in, for someone to purchase for their own use, these other developers win because their layouts are better, right? Certain developers' layouts are more spacious, likewise, right? So from an end user point of view, DAMAC layout is going to be probably mainly catering to tenants rather than end users, investors, right? End users are going to prefer various other communities. Now, comparing DAMAC Islands versus Expo City is going to be much more appealing for end users. As I said earlier, these top tier workers working in Expo City, they will want to own an apartment in Expo Valley Views. That layout's very end user friendly, which we can discuss in detail on a meeting if you're interested. So that's something that you need to understand. How exclusive the location community project is, obviously, Expo City versus DAMAC Islands, which we discussed all this, like, you probably by now you would understand how exclusive the location is, which is more exclusive and which is less exclusive. We discussed these things during the video. And along with that, pricing control and bargaining strength at each stage of the resale, that is tied to the exclusivity. If the unit opportunity is more exclusive, then you get a higher bargaining power when you resell, when you rent out, right? So these are certain things that you need to understand when you make an investment. Which opportunity is going to give you more returns, higher returns, which is more exclusive, right? Which is well aligned with the government. So this is about the capital growth potential aspect, right? So this was about today's video. I analyzed these two projects in 4 verticals, 4 risk aspects. Entry risk, how much of a risk you are willing to, how much of an uncertainty you are willing to digest as you enter into the opportunity. Which project has a higher risk compared to the other, right? That's about entry risk. Then we spoke about supply. How much of competing supply is available, is there along with your unit that you are going to purchase, and how many identical layouts are going to be there and what it means to you as an investor. Then we spoke about income. What is the potential income that you could expect by looking at actual rental scenarios? What kind of income you can expect and why, and which is likely to give you more income, right? And then we spoke about capital growth, which opportunity is more exclusive and which is less exclusive, hence which one is going to grow more than the other. Hope today's video was insightful, and with that being said, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and like this video. And if you feel anything, if you have any questions, if you feel something is not clear, I will be more than happy to see your thoughts, see your concerns in the comments, and we can have a productive discussion. And if you are interested in an investment, please do get in touch. We can have a chat. With that being said, signing off until next time.